everybody. Welcome to our first review on Tall Boys in the Grass. It's your first host, Mr. Frank, right here. And with me is my boy, Marty. Marty, say hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We're good. Sorry. We just saw Avatar this weekend. I'm sure everybody has seen Avatar or Avatar 2 Way of the Water. So we just wanted to talk about how we feel about it. We'll start off with a little bit of non-spoiler, generalizations about the movie, so we don't get into anything too crazy for the people who haven't seen it.
There will be spoilers.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go really deep into spoilers after we kind of just get a general lay in the ground on how we feel about it and all that. So I liked it. It was funny. It was cool. It was visually ridiculous. The story was a lot better than the first story. It had more depth, but not so much depth and complexity that was mentally draining, like the MCU has become. Where it's you have to know all these characters and all this universe to understand what's going on. And Star Wars has kind of gotten into that way just a little bit. Just you have to have all the backstory to be able to appreciate what you're watching all the time. And while I enjoy doing that for Star Wars and the MCU, it's just I got to the point where it's a little excessive. It's every time I feel like I'm having to read a history book on Star Wars or Marvel or DC or whatever, because they're established franchises that have been around for 50 years plus, with the exception of, well, not with the exception, but with Avatar, it's not like that. I mean, it's been around for 13 years, which is quite a while now, but this is only the second movie, and I don't know if there's comic books. I've never seen one. There's a game, but it's based off of the movie, and then books, I don't know any books or TV shows, anime, or anything like that. So it's nice to be able to go into something and not have to know a million things just to enjoy the thing that you're watching. But at the same time, James Cameron definitely assumed everybody saw the original and remembered everything from it, because there are so many things in this movie that you don't get unless you've recently seen the other one. They say scown 50 million times in that movie. Do you know what a scown is, Marty?
Nope.
We just watched the first movie and you've already forgot what a scown is because of how little of importance it has.
Sure did.
It's the Na'vi word for moron. So that's what they called Jake in the first movie, but now everybody's calling each other scowns in this.
I feel like I've never heard that word in my life.
But it was in the movie so many times. But James Cameron just expects you to know what's going on. So there's a little bit of that, which I wasn't expecting, because he said each movie was oh yeah, you can watch that movie without seeing the other ones. All the stories are supposed to be self-contained. But it doesn't seem like that, considering there's a lot of world building that you would have to understand. Your thoughts?
Visually, it was beautiful. I thought it was even better than the first one. It was brighter, more vibrant, which is saying a lot, because the first one was just really pretty to look at. But all of the water scenes were gorgeous. And story-wise, I don't know if I would say it's better than the first one. The side stories, for sure, the family things that tie into it, that's pretty cool. But the main story plot, yeah, I wouldn't say it was that impressive to me.
I mean, what I appreciate about it is that the lack of complexity, I guess, but it's also it's got enough depth in there to where you can feel for it. We get it. It's a dad protecting his family. But when was the last time we got a movie like that? Every modern movie, it's men are stupid idiots, and if they are trying to be protective, they're overprotective, and they're bad for it, and they need to learn how to just cool off, daddy-o. And it's I don't want that. This is a dad who's got his kids. He's just trying to keep his kids alive, trying to keep his wife alive, and he's screw everybody else. I have a family I gotta worry about, Yeah. And I appreciate that. I mean, they didn't make him look like a boob. They didn't make him any more stupid than he was originally. I mean, he was dumb in the first movie before he was a dad, so he's not dumber. And in the last movie, everything that he did was just because he was dude, I'm Jake Sully, and I'm just trying to figure out what these planets about.
I'm just a jarhead in a blue body.
Yeah, exactly. He's he didn't really have any motivations until he got horny, and then that was his motivation. And with this one, it's
which speaks to all men.
It's touche. But I mean, now he's got actual motivations. I gotta keep my family safe. So I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, the first note that I have on the movie is actually, word for word, Jake Sully is still a jarhead.
Yes, he is still a Marine at heart, 100%. He's just...
He favors a gun over, bow and arrow or knife or any kind of spear, tribal weapon. He's still Marine. Like, his tactics are Marine. He still uses the communicators, like, the way he teaches the Na'vi people. Like, it's Marine tactics. So that's still ingrained in him. And he's definitely... still a pretty dumb average guy.
Yeah, he's
not an intellectual. He's not a poet.
Yeah, exactly. He was like the chosen one or whatever, but he wasn't like special, really. There's nothing about him that is any different than most people.
He's still only here because his brother died.
Yep. Yep. Which we'll get into that more later in the spoilers, because there's some stuff I want to talk about with that. Gosh, I'm so afraid of saying a spoiler when this is supposed to be the non-spoiler, and there's so many things I want to talk about that for some people it could be a spoiler. So unless you've got something, I really want to move on to spoilers.
Let's move on. Spoil it.
All right, we're going to the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go watch the movie, come back, pick up right where we are right now. I will make sure that there's like a time card or something so you can just click to the spoiler section. Okay, the opening of the movie, specifically, I want to go into that train.
Neytiri's beautiful blue pregnant body.
No, that's going to probably get cut out of this video. You sound like James Cameron when he was designing her. Okay, moving on. The train, okay? I like Twains, okay? Just so we knock this out right now. That shot of the train crashing, whether Jim Cameron will admit it or not, that shot is an homage to another director. Now, there's a famous director out there, maybe the most famous director of all time, depending on who you ask, who, when he was a child, the first time he ever went to a movie, there was a train crash in that movie, and it blew his mind, and it just captivated him. And that's what started his path to become a filmmaker. So he goes home, and he wants a camera, and he wants a train set. So his dad gets him cameras, dad gets him a train set, and then he just keeps crashing that train set over and over again, trying to get shots of him crashing that train set. And then his dad was like, hey, you keep wrecking these model trains, I ain't getting you anymore. Understandable. This was probably like the 40s or the 50s or something. It was quite a while ago. So that guy then grows up to become Steven Spielberg and makes Jurassic Park. All right, knocked it out. Beginning of the video / podcast, whatever. It's done. We got our connection. That's a true story, though. That is a true story.
A little early in the podcast, but all right. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping you on your toes, Marty. Got to be light-footed around me, all right? Dance like a butterfly, sting like a Steven Spielberg. I loved the beginning of it so much. There was some, I get they were just doing exposition, and they were just narrating, and they were showing a little bit of stuff here and there. Didn't really care that they were just doing exposition. All the shots that they were showing were super cool. Like when the humans came back and the ships are coming and it's like burning the jungle away. And it's just like, wow, that was so cool.
Yeah, I was watching that and I was like, well, why don't they just do that to the whole planet?
Yeah, I had a little bit of that too, but they don't have that many ships. It wouldn't be enough to do the whole planet. And they also want to live on the planet, so they don't want to destroy it too much because they already did that to the last planet. Which, that's another thing that we can talk about real quick, is the motivations of why they're on Pandora now versus why they were on Pandora in the first movie.
Right.
Because in the first movie, it was just like, we got to get that unobtainium so we can get filthy rich.
Which doesn't exist anymore. Like, they didn't mention it at all.
I'm sure that there's still unobtainium, but they changed over to, okay, Earth is falling apart. Nobody wants to live here anymore. We want to colonize somewhere. Might as well colonize here, even though they can't breathe the oxygen. I'm sure they can, terraform or something. They're in the future. They got all this technology. I'm sure terraforming isn't that far off. So that's why they want the planet. That is a way better motivation for the continuing of the sequels. Unobtainium's fine for the first movie. They're just trying to get rich. That's fine. But now that they're like, okay, we want to lay the groundwork to just take over, unobtainium's not a good reason for that. So them swapping over to, Earth is awful. We got to get off Earth.
Earth is dying.
Yeah.
We need a new planet. we're already here. Might as well take this one.
And then back to the train. They built the train system pretty quickly. I felt like they weren't on that planet that long before the trains were already built.
Yeah, well, so the general, right? She's the on-world commander.
Right.
She said that they did more work in however
Was
long
it like
it was.
3 months or something?
Yeah, 6 months, I think, something like that. They did more work in that 6 months than all the time that they were on on Pandora in the first movie.
Yeah, I think they said 3 years.
Which makes sense if Earth is actually dying and like they're trying to colonize.
And they got those really cool like building spider bot things.
Oh yeah, those were cool.
Yeah. But I don't know if that was like building a rail system of that size, even for super cool AI drones, I felt like was a little drastic. Now, most likely that train system was probably built on the previous time they were on the planet, and they just either cleaned it up or just started using it again. I can't imagine they built that whole thing, but that threw me off for a second, but it's not a huge deal. Man, all the buildings though, like watching them build that, and she's walking around in that little mech suit, like the new one that's like the agility one, so they'll be as big as the Navi.
The movement of that suit just looked so cool. It looked so natural and fluid to me. Like,
yeah, we've come a long way since the loader from Aliens. Oh man, I'm hoping. I know Jim's not going to do this because he doesn't want people to think of Aliens when they watch these movies, even though it's so hard not to, because the Marines in this are just the colonial Marines from Aliens with modernized technology, and it's so cool. But I don't even know where I was getting off with that, or getting off. I don't know where I was going with that. I just love the design of everything. But the Aliens, I've completely forgotten where I was going with Aliens. Oh well, not important. I'll get back to it, I'm sure.
This is editing Ian here. I didn't get back to it, and the reason I wanted to talk about Aliens was because I was just wanting them to do a more explicit alien reference in a future Avatar movie where they showed basically a loader, but in Avatar. Okay, back to the podcast.
So Quaritch, his memory gets downloaded right before he dies as a human in the first movie. And we pick back up with him being restored as a Navi, and he's not the same man. Like, he says that, I am not that man, I just have that man's memories. Which, at the end of the movie, you kind of see that he really isn't the same man. Although, he's still the villain. He's still the bad guy through and through.
He's definitely Quaritch. He's just not that Quaritch.
And he still looks the same.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that.
DNA.
But, like, you almost can't tell the difference. Still a human.
Just a big blue human.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the haircut. Yeah. I liked that they did that. I thought that was a cool idea. I know some people are like, oh man, how lame. They're just like, oh, he downloaded his memories. How convenient. It all happened off screen. How convenient. I don't care how convenient it was. That's a cool idea. It's a great way to bring back a good villain. Mm-hmm. If you got something good, stick with it. And now this is going to be spoilers for all the sequels, kind of. I mean, James Cameron's already said it in interviews before this movie even came out, so I wouldn't really call it a spoiler if he doesn't think it's a spoiler. But Quaritch is the bad guy in all the sequels. The reasoning behind that is Jim just hates having to come up with new villains in every movie. It's like with Marvel, they have all these villains that they spend all this work on and building up their character, giving them motivation, having a background, and then they just kill him at the end of every movie. That was one of the things I hated about Spider-Man movies, because they did that. They killed off the bad guy in like every movie. How am I supposed to be, emotionally involved with this if I just know the guy's going to die and then not come back,
Yeah, give us a Frieza. Give us a guy that comes back over and over in a new form.
Yeah.
And he's funny.
Exactly. And so that's what they did. They're like, okay, yeah, they downloaded their memories. So they brought back a good chunk of the people that were in the first movie. The only person that I can think of that didn't come back, Michelle Rodriguez.
Letty.
Yeah. And it's like, it sucks for her. She was in the absolute worst position to be in to die out of anybody in those movies, because she wasn't Navi and she didn't have an avatar. Mm-hmm. So she didn't have that to fall back on.
She didn't have her memories downloaded.
And yeah, she betrayed the Marines.
Yep.
So they hated her. and wanted to kill her. So she didn't have like, oh, we're just going to download her memories and put them in another body or anything like that. So in this world, Vin Diesel's alone. Like, he's got nobody. So he probably won't ever be in the sequels. We don't know, though. We don't know. He could. Family is important now. You know what I'm saying? Family. But I like them bringing back. And it also opens up potential for other people getting brought back or having multiple bodies of the same person. Imagine a whole unit of Colonel Quaritches. Or, now this is what I more likely to happen, is somewhere towards the end, the Colonel Quaritch that we see now, probably in the 4th or 5th movie, I'm going to go with the 5th movie. He's probably either going to die, which is the most likely, and then for me, the second most likely in the 5th movie, Sigourney Weaver's 14-year-old character is going to sacrifice herself to save him, and then that's going to like change his mind on everything, and he's going to go from being, I hate the blue people in the jungle, to I love the blue people in the jungle, and then he's going to be his own little Jarhead clan Na'vi guy.
But do you think he's going to take it to the extreme and still be a villain with it?
No. I think if they do a turnaround for his character, then he's going to do a turnaround. Like, they'll probably, if that's how it would end, though, is him being a good guy. But I see him as more of a, in the 5th movie, he's going to die either sacrificing himself for somebody or somebody sacrificing themselves to save him, and then him becoming good after that.
I could see him sacrificing himself.
For the worst character that they came up with. The one real complaint I have about this movie is Spider.
Yes.
What a stupid character.
There's a note right there that says, Spider is a...
Well, it's not just that he's just not a good character, and he feels a little forced into it. Like, there's a lot of characters in this movie, and they did a really good job of fleshing out the majority of them. But Spider was a waste of screen time. He was a waste of attention, and he doesn't make any sense at all. Like, at first I thought it was kind of cool, the world building with, oh, a baby can't go into a cryopod, you stupid idiot. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Don't freeze babies. Makes sense, right? I don't know why he was being raised by Na'vi instead of people when there are still people there, but, you know, whatever. The dreadlocks, every time I saw him on screen doing something, I was like, that is such a thing that a white person with dreadlocks would do. He just has no real purpose other than to connect Quaritch to something.
Yeah, he gives Quaritch a little bit of depth and kind of his own like side story. They kind of use Spider to humanize Quaritch.
Yeah, and I have mixed feelings about that because sometimes it's better to have a villain who's just evil. You know, he's just evil. We don't need to know why he's evil. Emperor Palpatine, for instance. I don't need to know why Emperor Palpatine is evil. If they made a movie about his dad being mean to him and his mom like neglecting him, I don't care. Okay? I don't want a biography about Adolf Hitler's parents beating him when he was a child and that sent him down the path that he was on or something like that. He's evil. I don't care. Kill the guy. Bad guy. Fight against that guy. I don't want to know the background. It doesn't matter to me. And once you break like a certain line, you've gone too far. You do not get redeemed to me, even if your past was awful. There is a point. And I think that some stories need that, but not all of them. And so with Quaritch, I feel like the reason why they added Spider to give him that depth is because they want to redeem him at some point.
Yeah, but going back a little bit just to talk about all of the kids, they show them as kids, you know, from birth, growing up. And I thought it was pretty cool how they like show the kids interacting with each other as little kids fighting and arguing. Very realistic.
Yeah.
Definitely makes you think of them more as humans than aliens. And just their family as a whole, very human-like. I mean, I get it. Jake was a human, but... And another thing, he says that, early in the movie, he says that the Na'vi language is like speaking English to him at this point.
Right.
And then they speak English for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was because they were actually speaking English, or they were like, we're just translating it without translating it. You know, I couldn't tell.
Me neither. And I still have to learn some of the names because I haven't seen the movie with subtitles yet.
Oh, I have no idea. If we want to talk about somebody and pull up their name, I'm just going to Google it because their names are so complicated. With anything that's like named in the Avatar verse or whatever, it's hard to remember any of them. Like Jake Sully was easy enough name to remember, but then you've got like
Neytiri, like we've learned that one.
Yeah. And then
the oldest son, still don't know his name.
like Took or something. I don't
No,
know.
that was the young one.
Oh, okay.
Took. Right?
Okay.
And then you've got Loak, right? Was that his name?
I thought it was Noah.
Noah and Loak, I think.
I don't know.
And then Kiri or Kitty? I couldn't tell. Sigourney Weaver's like 14-year-old Avatar.
I think it's Kiri.
Child.
I think
Kiri.
it's Kiri.
Yeah. It sounded a lot like Kitty.
Oh.
Confused me.
Okay, we got... Hold on 1 second. I want to Google something real quick. Because I think I might have just figured out why they named her Kiri. If this is her name. Because if you remember, Neytiri had a sister that died when they were kids because they were at the school or whatever. And so I'm wondering if they named... So, like, Sigourney Weaver loved Neytiri's sister because she was one of her students. But then Neytiri's sister was killed by the construction people or whatever. And that's what separated them. So I'm wondering if they named that girl after Neytiri's sister. But I'm looking it up right now.
Could be.
Let's see.
Yeah, I definitely think that they gave Spider too much screen time. And it took away from the younger Sully child and the older Sully child. The two middle ones, they got a lot of screen time. And right. Loak, I think was his name. I actually liked his story a lot with his whale thingy, which Tuakun, I think was what they call him.
Tukun?
Yeah, he had the one that was the outcast with the, cut off arm and the
right
harpoon through his fin. Pikal, I think was his name.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Their story was cool. Their bond was cool. Just the way that they have to go inside of the mouth of that thing to freaking sync with it.
Yeah, that was weird.
I loved it. I thought it was cool.
That was scary, but it was like...
that's the point.
I think it kind of evokes that Jonah and the whale kind of thing, where you gotta like get in the belly of the beast and kind of find your way.
Face your fear. And,
right.
Yeah.
Tolkoons. They're called Tolkoons. And that'll be important because the fourth movie, Avatar 4, is titled The Tolkoon Rider. So I wonder who that's going to be about,
Jake Sully.
Yeah, the next one is called The Seed Bearer. And so for me, I think that's going to have like a double meaning. I feel like that's going to have something to do with Kiri's origin as well as something to do with Awa or whatever. But we don't have to talk about that at this moment. I like the Tolkoons. I thought they were really stupid, though. Their politics. Oh my gosh, you attacked a boat?
Outcast.
Yeah. Be gone, thought. You were a baby?
Yeah.
Idiot.
I agree.
Go die.
No. Actually, that was one of my favorite scenes is when Pikal fights back against all the humans with the ships.
The first time or when the flashback?
No, the actual scene in the movie, not the flashback.
Yeah, not the flashback.
Yeah. So, the harpoon guy is a douche, right? And he wraps that cable all around him, yanks it, and his body and his severed arm go flying through the sky.
Guarantee he comes back. The
way they filmed that was so cool. That was like one of the coolest.
I thought it was going to be gross.
Scenes.
I was like, oh my gosh.
No, it was a clean cut, clean release.
I was like, oh gosh, his arm. Oh, it's pinned. Oh no. How's it already not gone? And then, boop. There it goes.
That guy was like, I don't know. The whole thing was like wailing and, human greed.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I don't know why they decided to do this. Or I'm sure there's going to be reasons in the future. And I'm interested to see what they do with it. It's like, why do you guys even go kill these things? Oh, for this. Shove the needle up its mouth and then drain this fluid. Oh, what does that do? Oh, it just ends aging. Like, you just stop aging. That's an awful convenient like thing to find in a space whale.
So yeah, the scientist that explains like the brain fluid from the whale.
His name's Ian.
Okay, loser name. Anyway, he says, it stops human aging, and obviously that makes it the most valuable substance in the universe that we know of, more so than unobtainium. Anyway, that's still not a solution to save Earth.
No.
If Earth is dying, that's not going to save it.
I don't think that had anything to do with saving Earth. I think that's purely just money again. Like, that's the unobtainium of the movie.
Right.
Which is what gives them a reason to go whaling in the first place. Or Tolkiening or whatever. You think they're called Tolkiens because of Tolkien? Probably not. I don't know. Yeah. Could be unrelated, yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with that, though. Because there's possibilities with that, too. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's 100 years in the future and all the human characters from the movies are still alive because they've just been rubbing this stuff on. Like, I don't know how it makes you, like, stop aging. Do you rub it on yourself? Is it an injection? Is it a suppository? Do you have to do it regularly? Is it a one and done? Because if it's like a one and done, even if it's a suppository, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Not really. I don't want to stop aging.
You have to drain all of your blood and replace it with this fluid.
Oh, gosh. That'd be pain. Well, I mean, your blood would just come back and then you would explode. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works.
Speaking of scientists, do you think that scientist, Ian, is still alive?
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to have a redemption arc?
Well, I don't think he was ever really the bad one. He's just studying them.
I mean, he's kind of the main reason that they're killing these sacred whales.
The whaler is doing this regardless. He's only there to study it because it's already happening. He's like, well, this is the only opportunity I'm going to have to study these creatures.
But because of what his studies proved, that it stops human aging, now they're
we don't know.
Tilt. They're in it.
We don't know if he was the one who discovered that.
Wasn't he? Didn't he say he was?
I don't remember.
Anyway, I think like he might have had a reason for it. Like maybe somebody he loved was dying and he found this solution that stops aging that's going to save his loved one. So maybe he has good intentions, kind of.
Or maybe he was super into older women. He married a woman so much older than him. And she was about to die. He's like, no, I can't lose the love of my life. So
maybe they put this fluid into an amulet, right? And this old witch from Game of Thrones wears it.
I don't know. No witches. We don't want to go into witchcraft here. Keep Jon Snow out of my Avatar. All right, they already ruined one franchise. I don't need another one ruined by those guys. Man, I thought you were going with the lady from, oh gosh, what's that? Brothers Grimm or whatever. The lady in the tower with the long hair that was like living forever. I was like, that's a pretty deep reference, bro. I guess it was a little too deep.
Who did Quaritch knock up? Who is Spider's mom?
That's another
Was it Letty?
Good question. No. That kid didn't look Hispanic at all.
Meh.
He was blonde.
Meh.
I think it wasn't relevant, and so they probably just ignored that. Or they're waiting until there's in one of the sequels when they're trying to do more focus on those two's relationship. They'll probably be like, oh, I got this scar because me and your mother, who was a scientist or a fellow Marine or whatever, were one of the first people landed on this planet, and one of those jackal things attacked her, and I was trying to save her, and then I got attacked trying to save her, and they took out my face, and I couldn't save your mom or something stupid like that. So that's why I don't know anything about it.
Then how did she deliver a baby?
No, the baby would have been born pre that.
But he wasn't.
You don't know that, Mark. How old was he? He looked like he was probably around 2, maybe a little less at the beginning of the movie.
Was he? I don't know.
He was tall, but he still has baby fat. But he could walk on his own.
He didn't have baby fat. This kid was like 16. He was ripped.
No, when he was a baby at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, my bad.
Did he look 2 years old for the rest of the movie? No.
Well, every 2-year-old has.
Look, I know I'm new to being a dad, but I think I know the difference between a 20-year-old and a 2-year-old. Oh, man. I still don't like Spider, though. I still don't like it.
I don't either. So, at the end of the movie, when Quaritch and Jake Sully have their big fight, right, in the sinking ship,
yeah,
and Jake basically wins, right? And Quaritch's unconscious body sinks to the bottom. Spider goes down and saves him.
Why? And so when he did that, I was like, okay, he's going to change sides and he's going to go back to the humans.
I thought so too.
Because that's what would make the most sense for somebody to do something that's stupid.
Yeah.
But then, and this is where it gets even crazier, right? So throughout the whole movie, they talked about how Neytiri did not like him. For the whole movie, even when he was a kid, Neytiri was like, get that little cracker away from my kids, you know? Go back with your own kind. We don't want you around here. Like, that's what she said. She didn't say cracker, but she just said he needs to stay with his own kind. And so this whole time, she doesn't like him. They grow up. She apparently never got over that. Still has hated him for over a decade now. And she has her kid being held by, what's his name, Quaritch with the knife.
Yep.
And so she's like, I'll kill him. And she meant it. We all know she meant it. She would have killed Spider, no problem.
And I wish she would have.
I kind of do too. But moving on to that, like, she didn't kill Spider. She said a son for a son, and then Spider saves Quaritch, and Quaritch is like, come on, boy, let's go back to the other people, and hoorah.
He hisses at him and runs away.
Yeah, he's like, it's like, what are you, a vamp kid? Like, back off, bro. But yeah, he has to run away, swims back over to Jake, and then Jake is like hugging him with his other son after his actual son was just murked by this guy's dad, and he's like, a son for a son. I'm like, okay, that would have been poetic if he didn't just save Quaritch.
Right.
So the kid had, like, he's a wild card, man. He's a wild card. You have no idea which side he's fighting for. And at the same time, he just ignores that Neytiri was going to kill him. He's like, oh, no big deal.
Maybe they call him Spider because he's jumping back and forth like a jumping spider.
No, it's because they call him a spider because he's like a spider monkey. And that's why Kiri's always calling him Monkey Boy.
Same.
Also, what the... Monkey? We do have a Frieza. Go back to your own kind, monkey. Like, what is this? They're telling him to stay with his own kind. They're calling him a monkey. This has got some really weird stuff in it. And I guarantee you did that with any other character, people would have something to say about it.
Maybe we'll give Spider a break because, yeah, he was getting bullied from a 2-year-old child.
Oh my gosh. Like, he's such an awful character. I don't know what his purpose is. They didn't give him a purpose in this movie other than to save Quaritch at the end, which didn't make any sense why he would have saved Quaritch and then go back to Jake. Like, if he would have just saved Quaritch and then left with Quaritch, that would have made sense. But he just immediately forgets that Neytiri was just going to slice his throat open and pour his blood out all over the deck and then lick it off, you know?
I feel like he can never trust the Sullys because of that. And I feel like the Sullys can never trust him either because he saved Quaritch.
Well, they definitely don't know he saved Quaritch.
They're going to find out.
They're going to find out. But it's going to be one of those things where, like, they're just going to assume at first when they see Quaritch again that it's a different Quaritch avatar body with the memories downloaded into it or something like that. And then Spider will eventually, like, it was me. And then Neytiri is going to be like, I'm going to kill you again. And then maybe he'll go back to the people where it makes sense for him to go to. Not saying that he should because they're the bad guys. But his motivations make no sense whatsoever. And that's what's, like, frustrating with me with that character. If they didn't have him do that, or if they had him do something differently, I feel like I wouldn't dislike him as much. But he just doesn't make any sense when he chooses what to do. He does what's convenient to the plot, and only that. He doesn't make any sound choices for, like, what would a normal person do. If Neytiri held a knife to my throat after spending 16, 18, however many years calling me a monkey and telling me to go back to my own kind, I would go back to my own kind.
Right.
And it's also funny that how was it juxtaposed or whatever him and Quaritch are, because you've got a human who wants nothing more than to be a Na'vi, and then you've got a Na'vi who wants nothing more than to be human. But they're father and son. So, really weird. That's kind of deep. I don't know if they were going for that or not, but they did it.
Yeah, that is pretty deep. But, I don't know. Quaritch, the villain that he was, is not what they portrayed at the end of the movie. When Neytiri's got the knife to Spider.
100%.
He should have let her do it.
Yeah, like the real Quaritch.
The real Quaritch he wouldn't have flinched. He would have been like, kill him. Kill the little I don't care.
Yeah, he would have shot him himself. And while I'm thinking about Neytiri, barely in the movie. Like,
yes.
She had like, what, 6 lines maybe in that movie?
And every scene that she was in the movie, she was like full on rage, which I kind of like that. But
yeah, she was either in like hissy mom cat protective mode or in the background.
Right.
That was pretty much it. I don't know if it's because Zoe Saldana just didn't have a lot of time to film because she has more going on than all the other actors right now.
No, I think it's because Spider got so much freaking screen time. Him, Quaritch, the Whaler, and the Scientist, like, there was a lot of screen time for people that weren't that big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, these are characters that are coming back, and so they got to do something with them.
The 2 characters that got a lot of screen time that I think rightfully so were Loak and Curie. Those, obviously, the kids that outshine the other kids.
Yeah, Jake Jr. and Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Well, she has freaking magic control over Ayla.
I'm going to get into that in a little
and
bit.
He is, the outcast kid that bonds with the outcast Tulkun.
He's just Jake. He's just Jake, but instead of going from human to Na'vi, it's whatever, Takaya...
Right.
To water people.
But those 2 kids, like, they had cool stories. They had a lot of screen time, rightfully so. Spider, not that cool. A lot of screen time. Didn't deserve it. And then you had the older brother and the younger little one, Took, that didn't really have that much screen time.
I will give that to them because the thing is, I knew from the beginning that older brother was going to die.
I did not. But him not having the screen time and him not really having, like, his own personality and story really didn't make his death that impactful to me.
That's exactly, like, I was impacted, but I'm also hyper emotional. So I feel empathy for people quite a bit. And so when he died, I was like, oh, they lost their son.
But when he died, what did they do?
They got over it immediately.
They left his body on a rock with who? Spider.
And Water Girl.
Okay. Somebody that's not part of their family.
No, they didn't leave. No. They didn't leave him with Spider. Spider hopped on the whatever with Jake to go find the girls. Remember, he's like, where are the girls? Where are they? And he's like, he's on the moon deck. He's like, what the is a moon deck? Remember that?
Yeah.
Because then Jake threw the grenade into the missiles and blew up. And he's like, get down. And then Spider was like, Shah.
Which was probably my second favorite scene. So Neytiri goes full rage after the oldest son dies.
Yeah, just starts murking people.
Yes, and that one scene where she shoots a guy with the arrow and he's still alive and he's like trying to pull the arrow out of his chest. Mm-hmm. She restrings the bow over the arrow while it's still inside of him and shoots it through him into another guy.
Oh yeah, dude, she was brutal throughout the movie.
That was bad.
It was brutal throughout the whole movie. Imagine getting murked decades ago, having your consciousness downloaded into this $1 billion super body of an alien, going all the way back to that planet, training the whole time. You show up for your first mission. You're like, oh, we found the target's kids. Perfect. We're looking real good. Stunk. Arrow in your eye. How embarrassing.
And she is so badass that I think she's the only one that Quaritch is actually afraid of. Because every time he sees her arrows, he like has that little twinkle in his eye. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's afraid of death at some point.
Well, she's already killed him once. So
exactly. He knows she can do it. Yeah. And that she will do it again. I thought that was kind of cool that they're like, oh, these arrows are specific to this person. Like, she designs her in a specific way so you can identify who she is. I thought that was kind of neat. I think that kind of
makes sense that they would make their own arrows. But
yeah, I definitely don't think that was in his mind whatsoever when the first one was made. No. But he had help writing this one from people who are actually like competent. And so, not saying that he isn't competent. He's just not so much a writer as he is a director, which is why that story was so basic. And he's been doing this for a long time, so he needed some help. But they got the guys from, I think, the Planet of the Apes reboot with Andy Serkis to help write. Let's get on to Curie for a little bit, or whatever her name is, the
Magic Girl.
Yeah. So, 100%, she is the Anakin Skywalker / Jesus of this universe, franchise, or whatever you want to call it. And when I say that, it's because they're leading up to the whole, who is her dad? We don't know who her dad is. immaculate conception kind of thing. She's super in tuned with everything and has these abilities that other people don't have. And so I can almost guarantee this is what's going to happen with one of the movies when they figure out who her dad is.
Here comes the famous Frank prediction.
Well, there's really only three options that it could be. All right, and the way that I see it. One, and this is the most unlikely option, but still a possibility. It's realistic, but the most unlikely that they're going to go with is that she just had a dad. Like, it was tall, skinny guy, just went to town with Sigourney Weaver, and they had a baby. Unlikely, but possible. The most possible in real life. The second one, and this is where it would get kind of weird, would be she had they're going to make Sigourney Weaver's character a lesbian who had a woman lover, but couldn't conceive with her for whatever reason, obviously. And then with the powers of Awa or something, they figure something out, and then they combine their DNA into her, and then that's their baby. That one I don't think is going to happen, but you never know with a Disney movie. They're going to try to add wokeness to it.
Why does she have to be a lesbian for that to happen, though?
For her to get knocked up by a girl?
No, for Awa. You're talking about Awa.
No, right? No. I'm about to get to that. I'm
confused on what you're saying.
Okay, what I'm saying is the second option is like a blend of a human companion, just not a male companion, and then using something like either the science from the science world or like the magic of Awa to conceive their girl-on-girl baby in Sigourney Weaver's body. That one I also don't think is going to happen either. I'm just saying, you don't know with Disney. They might try to force that in there because they're the ones paying for it. The most likely option, in my opinion, is that it's just an immaculate conception from Awa. That's why I'm saying they're going to go with the Jesus thing. This is the daughter of Awa, and Sigourney Weaver's body was just what was used to make it happen.
Right.
And so she's got a deeper connection with Awa. She's probably Awa incarnate or something like that. The next movie is called The Seed Bearer. So that's why I'm saying, like, it may be something about her being the child of Awa or whoever her parents is, or she herself may be the seed bearer for Awa. And then the next one is the Tolkien Rider, which is obviously going to be about Jake Jr. And then the final one is called, like, The Quest for Awa or something like that. And so that one I feel like is going to kind of wrap it up.
So do you think we're going to see Sigourney Weaver, like, adult form come back? Because they have her avatar, like,
that avatar,
cooking, you know?
I don't think so. But they could.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Her essence is in Awa, so all they'd have to do is get Awa to download her back into the body, but she didn't do that in the other movie. So we don't know. I did get a little teary-eyed whenever they, like, connected with Awa at the end, and they saw their son when he was little, and they were doing the fishing thing again. And I know that was just, like, that was the point of it, and it was really cheesy and kind of dumb because he shouldn't have died anyway, because they didn't develop him, and it was super, like, everybody knows this is going to be the one that died. Like, this character literally exists to die. At the same time, I was like, recent fatherhood, so I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got his kid, and they're fishing like they were when he was still alive, and the kid doesn't know that he's dead, and Jake is fishing with him, and he's trying not to show that he's sad, and then the teary's in the back, and she's just like, my baby.
It's okay, Frank. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. That's it. I mean, it worked on me a little bit. I thought that was pretty touching.
One question for you. So, like, the forest people now, or what?
Oh, I'm sure that everybody's going to come back. What I was worried about when this movie was coming out and was called The Way of the Water, until I saw the names of the sequels, was, great, this is going to be a thing. They're going to start a movie with them getting chased off from one tribe. They're going to go to another. They're going to learn about that one. And then the next one, like, we're going to go to the water people. And then, oh, we can't be at the water people anymore. All right, we're going to go with the savannah people, the way of the savannah. And we're going to learn how to, ride lions. And
no, they were just taking a play from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Book 1, water.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I don't think they're going that way now that they're like, we are part of the tribe. These are our people now.
Wait, those were his people. The forest people were his people.
I know, but like, I do not believe that they'll do that again.
I mean, he was Toruk Makto for crying out loud. Come on.
He was Toruk Makto, but I feel like at the same time, it's like they were trying to kind of reboot it with this. This was like a soft reboot. You know, he's not the same guy he was, and that was like a war thing. And he's like, now he's trying to avoid war because he doesn't want his kids wrapped up in war.
Failed at that.
Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't his fault. I mean, you only have so many places to run if you're stuck on a planet. They use bows and arrows. They don't have ships.
Right. Well, he did say towards the end of the movie, he's like, we're done running. Right. So, yeah, maybe they won't leave. Maybe, I guess the rest of the movies are going to take place in the water tribes.
I think, like, they'll probably see the other tribes here and there, but I think that they're going to stick with the water tribe because the fourth one, so the one after the next one, is called the Tolkien Rider. So they got to be near the ocean for them to ride Tolkiens. I'm hoping that one, the Tolkiens, are finally like, hey guys, maybe we should defend ourselves. If they're so smart, can't defend themselves? I mean, really? And then the one time somebody's like, you know what? I'm sick of getting whaled. I don't want to. I'm sick of harpoons in my fins and watching my mom getting murdered. I think I'm going to do something about it. They're like, be gone. Like, later, Tater. We don't want nothing to do with you no more. Go starve to death by yourself. And then he started murdering the great white equivalent of the sea there. Also kind of cool. I like that whole scene. Okay, let's get into this real quick. There were a lot of very intense, like scary almost scenes in this that actually had me going. I was like, oh, okay, oh, what's going to happen?
That first scene with Loak when the water boys bring him like out
right
past the reef, right?
Yep.
And
I was like, this is not going to go.
That shark thing attacks him?
Yep.
Yeah, that made me jump.
Yeah. That whole thing was super intense for me. I was like, oh man, he's all alone. He can't breathe underwater, and there's this giant monster that's trying to eat him, and it looks scary, and it is not playing around. It will mess this reef up. It does not care about the environment.
One thing I didn't think about till just now, Paikal, the Tolkien, bites that shark thing, right?
No, he didn't bite him. He just smashed him against a rock.
Okay, that's what it was. Because you saw blood. And I was wondering, like, he doesn't have teeth. How did he draw blood? But if he just smashed him into a rock, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And that was another thing that kind of doesn't make sense now I'm thinking about it, is he rammed him against a rock using the ultra-sensitive echolocation things on his face.
Well, they're ultra-sensitive to sound.
If they're ultra-sensitive to sound, that's because they're ultra-sensitive to vibrations. If I punch you in the eardrum, you know what I'm saying?
Good luck reaching it, tiny fist.
Actually, that would make it a lot easier to reach it if I had a tiny fist.
I know.
But, I mean, I didn't think about that. It's just, once again, not breaking the story or anything. It's just a gee whiz. And then the part at the end when they're trapped in this sunken ship in the dark, that was pretty intense. Like, yeah. I knew that they weren't going to drown a 5-year-old girl in front of us. But at the same time, I was like, this is scary.
They might.
Yeah, they might. And that leads me into another thing. I referenced Steven Spielberg earlier with the trains. Here's another famous director that I noticed. Well, they didn't reference him specifically, but it pretty much was Jake when he was talking to everybody about the humans that had just killed the Tolkien. And they're like, we got to do something about this or whatever. And then he's like, oh, they don't care about the balance. I'm like, oh, he just said it. He said the balance. Okay. That's a Force reference if I've ever seen one. Like, we got to have balance. The balance of nature. Okay, the Force. Got it. Okay. So
or Thanos.
Well, I guess, but I don't see Jim Cameron watching the MCU more than I see Jim Cameron watching Star Wars.
Can you stop calling him Jim?
That's what he goes by.
Is it really?
Yes.
Why is his name James Cameron then?
A lot of people named James go by Jim. What are you talking about?
I've never heard him referenced as Jim Cameron.
Go on his Twitter right now.
No.
His name is Jim Cameron on Twitter.
Make me.
And then some references to some of James Cameron's works. And that scene when they're underwater, the yellow strobe on the ship that's playing with Claxon, huge alien vibes.
Mm-hmm.
The part where he's fighting Quaritch, where Jake and Quaritch are fighting on the ship. I think they're still above water at this point. And he grabs a chain. Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah.
There was a little fire in the background, too. So you got chains, you got fire. I was like, oh, this is T2 right here. 100%. And then that ship sinking. Titanic. How'd you feel about the crab bots?
I loved them.
I love the crab
They're
bot.
so cool.
I want a crab bot now. And what I love even more is that they walk sideways. There's no reason for them to have been designed to walk sideways, but they're like, we're doing it.
And I love how they have a little bar and they like swing out from the bar.
That was so cool. Oh, man.
I was sitting there watching that and I was like, dang, we need to develop these in real life.
I know. The cangrejo bot.
Yeah.
No soy cangrejo, Marty. No soy cangrejo.
Okay.
Ah, man. I love the crab bot. The other submarine was like, it was a submarine. Well, it didn't do anything crazy for me. It was okay. But the crab bot, I love the crab bot. I loved it a lot. Oh, dude. Kiri was brutal to that one submarine driver. Was she like hooked up to something?
Use the little tentacle things underwater to like crush it.
And then the guy escapes and she's like, no. And she grabs him and he's like, drown.
I thought they were gonna drown and I was like, oh, that's pretty brutal. And then they got out and I was like, oh, okay. And then she drowned him anyway.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh god, it is
She's
still
got
brutal.
no chill whatsoever. Yeah. She's gonna murder that guy. She don't care at all. It was like, hey, if you're Sigourney Weaver, at some point you get tired of things chasing you around space, and you just gotta fight back, Oh, man. I love that whole scene, though. Like, the ending of it was super well done. The choreography, the cinematography with the action sequences was very well done. I mean, like I said earlier, the only real complaint I have about the movie is Spider. If they got rid of Spider, this would have easily been a 10 out of 10.
I agree.
With Spider, I'll give it like a 9 out of 10.
I would even say like a 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of really good stuff in it. It was, the visuals alone, I don't even, I had to really think about what was actually happening, because the most of what I got out of that movie was just seeing it. It was like a visual spectacle. It was hard to go with everything else, because what I'm looking at is so crazy. And even like the simple shots of, hand holding with a whale, that was amazing. It looks so real. You cannot tell me, nobody can tell me they know what's real and what isn't real in that movie. No,
you're looking at these made-up animals, and they look real.
Oh, 100%.
It looks like
100%.
An Animal Planet documentary.
Exactly. Even the people, I can't tell when the actual person, if they're there or not.
Yeah, when Kiri had the seizure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're putting all these medical things on her.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing her skin, her stomach really close up.
Yep.
And you can see the tiny little peach fuzz hair.
Yep.
And her little belly button, and it looks like a real human.
Oh yeah.
But she's blue. And this is all either prosthetic or CGI or something. Mm-hmm. But it looks so real.
I mean, even the way that the water just beat it up on them when they would come out of the ocean. Yep. Was just insanely detailed. And most major companies, or at least that we know of with film franchises, use ILM for their stuff, Industrial Light and Magic, because that's usually who started it. Then it was bought by Disney. Disney uses it for Star Wars and Marvel. These guys did not use ILM for this movie. And Jim even said that he talks some mad smack on ILM. He said they'll never be able to do what we did. He used something called Weta, which is the company that did Lord of the Rings back in the early 2000s, the Peter Jackson one. So they've been in the business for a while too. And I think they either bought Unreal Engine, or they were bought by Unreal Engine, or they merged with it. Weta and Unreal did something together recently. And Peter Jackson was the one who did the video announcement about it, which I thought was kind of strange. So I guess he's still pretty involved with Weta. But I like to think that we can advertise Avatar 2 as being made in Unreal Engine 5, It's just could you imagine she's showing up to the theater and it's the Fox, opening, and it's whatever Jim Cameron's production company is, and it's powered by Unreal 5,
I mean, Unreal Engine 5 is pretty impressive, but nothing touches what Avatar 2 looks like so far.
Oh, dude. I did not go in there thinking that they would have made the strides that they had made in the technology. I didn't think it was going to be that different than going and watching Avengers or something like that. I really didn't. My bar was pretty low, and they just blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
And, South Park has a great episode about Jim Cameron going and pulling the bar out of from the bottom of the ocean. And he's done it again. He's done it again. We're in a world where we get just our faces beaten with superheroes, and it's just that's the only big release. Really, besides Avatar and Jurassic World, were there any big movie releases this year that weren't superhero related? No. Not that I can think of. Like the big one's Black Adam, which flopped, in my opinion. Doctor Strange, I almost called it Stranger Things. Doctor Strange, which was also not super great. And then, oh gosh, I can't even remember what movies came out this year. But
they all pale in comparison.
Oh yeah, they're nothing. I mean, we had Jurassic World come out this year. That was one of the only non-superhero related things. And even then, like, that movie ended up being kind of disappointing. It redeemed itself in the end for me whenever the buck and the doe, the Tyrannosaur from The Lost World showed up.
Different movie review.
I know. I'm just saying.
No. Avatar 2 was absolutely beautiful. The Na'vi, super realistic looking. The animals, super realistic looking. One thing that I talked to a friend about, and she said, where are the turtles? There were no sea turtle creatures.
I feel like the whales were kind of half turtle.
Yeah, I don't know. That just surprised me.
I mean, it's not Earth.
Yeah, I know, but you're talking about, like, beautiful sea life. Like, everybody thinks of, like, jellyfish and sea turtles.
You know me. I love turtles.
Yeah.
Favorite animal. But I get why there weren't turtles in this. I will say, talk about animals. There was that one specific animal underwater. I'm going to call it angel wings. Because that's or fairy wings.
The little oxygen backpack?
Yeah. Okay. So I got way too many questions about that. That's another thing that I actually kind of bothers me a little bit about this movie. One, it's supposed to give them the ability to breathe in water. Okay. Easy. Got it. Makes sense. Two, they never used them. The only time they used them was to collect shells. And then Kiri used one at the end of the movie and then gave it to Neytiri. But there's like 6 people there that knew they were going to be underwater for quite some time. Nobody was like, oh, let's grab one.
Right.
And then the rest of the time that they're out exploring the water and doing all this stuff at the beginning when they first show up to the tribe, nobody was like, hey, put this on. You're going to be a lot happier.
You would think they would treat it like the humans treated the oxygen mask.
Right.
Like, don't leave without one and bring a spare.
Yeah. Like, hey, this is Charlie. He's my oxygen mask. You know? Or whatever they breathe in Pandora. It doesn't make any sense how little they were utilized. And there may be some kind of reason that they come up with eventually. It's like, oh, well, these animals can only do it so long and only certain times they can do it. Or like they need to qualify this for some reason. Because as it is right now, what I see is there's a creature that all the avatars can wear on their back that gives them unlimited ability to breathe underwater. And they used it twice. And one of them was to collect seashells. Yeah. Plot hole. Okay. There. I picked it apart, guys. I picked apart the movie. That's it. You know what? That 9... down to a 3. Do not recommend.
I feel like we're going all around the world on this. Like, we love the movie. There's only one thing we don't like about it, and it's Spider. We gave it a really good review, but we're also like talking a lot of negative stuff about it.
Well, okay. Just because they didn't make sense doesn't mean I don't like it. Spider I did not like. No. And it didn't make sense. That thing, it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It was just like, these guys should probably wear this thing more.
Yeah.
Maybe they did say something about it and I missed it. I mean, it's a pretty long movie. Oh, we haven't talked about the romance part of it. That whole creepy...
We haven't even talked about the Water Tribe people at all.
Exactly.
Really.
That whole thing, we're just repeating the same thing that happens in tons of movies where a family moves to a new area and then the local bullies pick on somebody and then the big brother goes in and protects them and then the bullies and the people become friends or something like that. Very, very basic. Been around for decades. Still, seeing it in that skin, I'm okay with it. I liked it. Yeah. I like that whole thing. I don't care that it was pretty tropey. I enjoyed it. The romance part of it, that's another thing, that huge giveaway that the oldest brother was the one that's going to die. If the older brother was going to be the one, or was going to live at all, he would have been the one getting a romance arc because he's the oldest brother. But then they're like, oh no, Jake Jr. is going to have the romance arc. And I was like, oh, okay, so this guy doesn't have a lot of screen time, doesn't have any background other than he was the firstborn. And now he doesn't even have love interest. Okay, he's dead. Like, he's dead. There's nothing I can do about it. She was weird. She was just super into him, super fast. I didn't like their tails. It creeped me out a little bit. And their hands. They're mer people. And I get that they're trying to be, like, diverse or whatever. But, like, are they the same species? 'Cause, I mean, I get for it to be the same species, they just have to be able to breed and have a child that can also breed. Can these guys breed together?
I don't know. And apparently they haven't, because we haven't seen any, like,
right,
half-breed, you know, a little bit of the tail in between or the arm thing in between.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that.
Their arms made me very uncomfortable.
I liked it. They look strong.
Yeah. And then they did, like, the haka thing, and they all had, like, the Samoan tattoos, and they're, right. I thought that was a little cheesy. I was like, okay, come on. If you guys would have
surprised they didn't cast The Rock
or Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Hey, I could always use more Tim Morrison in something. I would have loved for him to be in this movie. And I've already seen people complaining about this on Twitter because that culture or whatever, the Water Tribe, used a lot of the stuff from like the Polynesian, Pacific Islander stuff. And they're like, but the actors are white people. And so, you're having a white actor play blah, 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 blah. Like, they're aliens. Okay, they're blue. Calm down. Like, are you really throwing a fit because they hired a white actor to play a blue person? Find me a blue, half cat, half seal alien lady, and then we'll talk about casting her instead of Kate Winslet. Okay? That was such a weird complaint.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about as much as we're going to get out of it. We'll just do a final on a scale of something to something. How you feel about it overall?
On a scale of what?
Whatever you want there, Daddy-O. I'm going to give this movie, 4 Sigourney Weavers out of 6 Jim Camerons.
What is the scale? Oh my goodness.
It's at least 8 Tolkiens.
I'm going to give it 3 Samwises out of 4 Hobbits.
Okay, well, that wraps it up. That was our review of Avatar 2. Highly recommend you watch it. Highly recommend you watch it in IMAX 3D specifically because you're going to get a lot more out of it. It's worth the extra money. And I would also recommend going at a matinee so you can get it cheaper. But try for the IMAX. It's totally worth it. And if not the IMAX, just see it in theaters at a minimum. Because waiting for this one to come out at home, you're not going to get what you would have gotten out of it at the theater. All right, so after our review, before we close out, we just want to thank everybody for listening. This has been a lot of fun for us, and we really appreciate everybody watching and listening. To whoever has listened to us in Sweden and Japan, you guys are cool. Please let us know who you are if you know us. I don't know anybody in Sweden. I know a lot of people in Japan, and I only know one person who's connected to both Sweden and Japan, and that's PewDiePie. And I highly doubt he's the one listening. But if he is, what's up, PewDiePie? Send it some of your followers our way. But probably not PewDiePie. And obviously, thank God for giving us the opportunity to do this, helping me get my computer fixed and setting everything up so we can continue to have some kind of form to hang out and express ourselves and have a little fun. You have anything to say, Marty?
No.
You don't have anybody to thank?
Thanks, Frank.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Hey, Peter. Nobody likes you. Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.